Guys Shred! Welcome to You Guys Shred. When your buddy asks you to piss on their feet in the name of friendship, you find a stinky turtle shell in the pond, and your bus driver hits a car in Paris but doesn't stop. I'm your host, Keaton Stewart.
I'm your co-host, Tyler Christensen.
If you guys like what we're doing, please subscribe, share, and review. It means the world to us. You can find us on Instagram at You Guys Shred and Poet Bones Music. Today's guest is a beautiful human who plays bass for the band Chelsea Grin. Please enjoy David Flinn.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for doing this. It's good seeing you. Pleasure.
Yeah. It was a process getting it to work out. I'm sorry.
No worries, man. It's life of a touring musician. I feel like everybody that we deal with has, it's the same thing. It's no big deal, Everyone just got to find that time when they
right on.
have a second to breathe.
Yeah.
We normally like to start with how we met the guest. And the first time I think I met you was at High Vibe Studios. I think you guys were doing vocals for the Self-Inflicted album in 2016.
Yeah, that would have been the last album that we had worked with Bucket. Yeah.
I think both of our bands were in the studio at the same time. We were with Dan Whitaker in the kind of the front part, and you guys were in the back. And I remember very vividly, every time I seemed like you guys were coming in to hang out, it would be like as I was taking my lunch, and I had just made ramen, poor musician ramen or whatever. Yeah. And you guys would always just walk by in unison and be like, "Hey, studio ramen, nice." Just like every single one of you separate, every studio ramen.
I'm a ramen guy, period. So I mean, no matter what, that's like my wife's. She's like naughty, like lay off the ramen. So.
Dude, if you put Taco Bell mild sauce on it, it tastes just like poverty.
Yeah, I apparently I enjoy poverty. So
yeah,
I joined a deathcore band. I grew up on Hamburger Helper and ramen. I'm fit for it. So
nothing wrong with a little poverty these days. Yeah. And then fast forward into me kicking you through a window in the Blind Kings video.
Yes. We currently talk, or we frequently talk about. How that was one of our funnest videos to do today. It was like the first time we actually got to try to act and goof off and do something more than do deathcore poses in front of chains and splatted blood walls and stuff. So it was
it was the most fun I've ever had on a music video. That was so fun. Yeah, I'll have to post some behind the scenes videos or something in the Instagram when we do this, because there were so many moments of just crazy, hilarious stuff. It was ridiculous. The one guy that was a real actor was the bearded,
the
buff
real
guy.
Cowboy.
Yeah. And I feel like the entire time we were just making stupid jokes and stuff, and he's just over there just like.
Yeah, he was extremely stoic. I remember Tom at one point was like. I think he walked up to him and said, and like you said, this dude was 6'4".
Yeah, he was super tall.
Hair. He was, head to toe and legit
cowboy. He was flipping the guns and stuff and had real guns. And it was crazy.
Yeah.
So Tom walked up to him and said, "What again?"
I think Tom had walked up and, asked him, so you dress up like a cowboy, you do reenactments and stuff, and the guy just looked at him dead in the face, just, "I am a cowboy." Tom was taken back, "Oh, okay,"
How did you
respect for the guy?
Dude, I just remembered that when we pulled in, because where we filmed that was in I guess near Park City, and there was this huge town and everything that they use for cowboy movies and all that kind of stuff for sets. And for whatever reason, there was a ton of elk and deer kind of crossing in the area. Yeah. And I remember just as we pull in, he's next to this white Mustang with his hat off next to his heart, just staring at those elk, just loving it.
America.
Yeah. It was what is going on here, Tim?
Where did you guys find him?
Tim Burton, our local, our mutual
friend. Shout out to Tim Burton.
Yeah, who filmed that video. I think he just found him online, just like the Utah Actors Guild or whatever that is. Yeah.
He was great
So,
though. Yeah.
but the rest of us were all just silly gooses.
Oh yeah, we couldn't stop laughing pretty much the whole time.
Oh, dude, for sure. Oh man. So you joined Chelsea Grin in 2009, right?
Yeah, I think oh man, it's been so long now. It was either the end of 2008 or the beginning of 2009. The band had just been transitioning, had just left the name Ahazia and entered Chelsea Grin and released that EP. And there was
Desolation of Eden. So were you a part of that, or
yeah. I wrote on Desolation of Eden.
so you
and
joined like right before that then?
Yeah, I think there was a 3 or 4 month period where there was a slightly different lineup with a different guitar player and the original drummers who brought me into the band, Andrew Carlston. He was the one who gave me the invite and asked if I wanted to start, jamming with Chelsea Grin. And I believe that was in the beginning of 2009. Yeah.
Okay.
And did you just know him from like mutual friends, or did you just play in groups together
Yeah,
before?
I met him at a party, just like a Salt Lake party. At the end of the party, I think there was like, I don't know. Of course, there was, typical. I was that dude at the party who was like, "You got a guitar? Let me see it."
You guys want to hear Wonderwall?
Yeah, exactly. And but he was like, "Oh, you play? That's cool. Like we should jam sometime." And we just jammed a little bit together, and then we had a very short run of a band with I'm not sure if you guys know him or not, Alex Lyman.
Oh yeah, I know of him. Not personally.
Know of him. We like jammed for a while, never played a show. We played one show, and I believe it was on my birthday, and we were just pretty much blacked out. I don't think it was, any sort of show in any shape or form. And it never went further than that. But that's how I met him. And I was actually in the National Guard at the time. And I was like, maybe 3 months before I got asked to just jam with him. And I was, at a point where I was like, yeah, I'll jam, I'll play music, whatever. But I had a career I was working on and had kind of sideline music for the time being. And he just randomly hit me up one day and gave me the invite to jam. And they asked if I wanted to join. And then very shortly after, we got picked up by Artery Recordings and got sent out to Lambesis Studios in California, and were recording and stuff. And I was still in the National Guard. I didn't know if I was going to be able to tour or what was going to happen. I was about to leave for Afghanistan at the time, and I went to my captain and my first sergeant that was there and kind of let them know, like, hey, I just joined this band, and randomly they got, hit up by a bigger label than, something local, and we're going to have the opportunity to tour full time, and I let them know that, and they kind of told me, to screw off, and laughed at me a minute, and sent me on my way. And I didn't think they took notice of it, but I think it was the following month we were out in the field training, and they called me into this tent, and they basically had like a going away party for me, and they had lined it up for me to be discharged honorably to go tour. And they just released me in the middle of my duty to go play music.
That's awesome. What was your MOS, if you don't mind me asking?
I was a 68 whiskey, so I was a field medic. So,
that's amazing, dude.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's so cool.
I like I said, I never got deployed. We were in stop loss. That's why I was really lucky that I got to go, because any unit before they go overseas, they get in this thing called stop loss, where nobody's allowed in the unit, nobody's allowed out of the unit. because they're solidifying the unit, to go into combat zones and stuff like that. So they just, they were cool, Shout out to Utah National Guard. I wouldn't be in Chelsea Grin without them. So
yeah. So from leaving that point and then to touring, what was your first tour? I mean, if you can kind of set the scene. Did you guys get the van? You had the 15-seater van, and you just took off. What was the very first tour for you?
Our first tour, we didn't even have a van. And we were trying to figure it out. Artery Recordings helped us get, I think they gave us $3,500 for a van. And there was a company back then called, what was it? Jean-Claude Van Bands. It was an old, it was like the beginning of van rentals for touring bands, and it was just like, I can't remember the guy's name, who it was, but it was a touring dude who just, was the first person who was like, I'm going to sell these things to everybody, and so we bought this terrible van off of him for $3,500. It was a 15 passenger, which was good. We had ripped out the last 2 seats in it, built bunks, and there was 3 guitar players, a bass player, a vocalist, and a drummer, a merch guy. And then we kind of shifted on drivers, so nobody took up space there, but it was a pretty claustrophobic environment. There was 2 people living in a coffin in the back, underneath the bunk. Yeah. You couldn't get out of it unless you stopped and opened the back door. So you'd be stuck in there for 8 hours at a time, and I think there was probably 6 inches, 7 inches of ceiling space above your head, so it was, it was pretty dismal. And then we slept 3 people on top of that.
You're stuck in a fart box, dude. Oh man. Oh man.
1 in each bench. And then, luckily we had another good friend from Salt Lake, Rico Cordova. He did merch for us on a lot of the early runs and, for a lot of years. And he was like a passenger seat sleep, no matter what. He would not take a bench. He would just sleep sitting up in the front seat. So we got lucky with that. But
that's so nice.
Wow. It was somebody in every single space.
Yeah. What bands were you touring with, or were you guys just supposed to go out on your own at that point?
No, I mean, we came from the same local label in Michigan called Static Factory Records. And the guy who started that record label found us, found Attila. I can't remember the other band. There was another band that
I was going to say, weren't you guys like the first band on Artery?
Yes. Yeah. So we got bought off of, that old Static Factory label, they completely swindled us, we had signed a contract, fulfilled the contract with the EP. We did the EP. That was that. Artery was trying to reach out to Chelsea Grin, and the owner of that wouldn't give them our number or any contact info, just said, well, they only do business through me, and
yikes.
Came to us and basically said, Artery Recordings wants to work with Static Factory. And so if you sign a new contract with us, you'll be, therefore have access to all of Artery Recordings, means. And so we were like, yeah, sure. We'll sign a new contract, whatever. Signed a contract. And as soon as we had it signed, immediately our phone, he gave them our number, and our manager, Mike Milford, reached out to us, and basically we answered the phone and he was like, you didn't sign anything, did you? And we were like, did, and so we had to buy our way out of that contract and, give him the rights to the original EP, t-shirts to sell forever, he totally, he ripped us, but that's the life of, stepping into record labels and managers, and there's a lot of bad ones out there, and you got to be careful, and you got to really investigate what you do before you do it, because you know, being a 16, 17-year-old kid, you hear a label, you hear a little bit of money, and you're like, yeah, I don't care. Sign me up, man.
Right. And then you're just, then you're a slave for the next.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, that sucks. I didn't know you guys got screwed over in the beginning there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Attila did too. They were on the same deal, you know, like same thing happened to them. It was just, we came from the same, you know, the same dirty laundry, you know?
So that's what the "Suck My Fuck" song is about, is them.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah.
So you're known for having like the coolest Music Man 5-string bongo basses around. They're just absolutely gorgeous. What I'm curious is what was your very first bass, and when did you start playing?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I was a guitar player my whole life leading up to Chelsea Grin, and I joined Chelsea Grin as a guitar player. And our ex-guitar player, Jacob Harmon, at the time was playing bass as a fill-in because he played for the band Hermione. Do you guys remember that band?
Just Harry Potter, sorry.
Yeah. Well, that was like Chelsea Grin and that band Hermione. Those were like, you know, local brother bands or whatever. And
the broship.
Yeah, not them, but same idea.
That was the joke.
Yeah. But he stepped in and was filling in at the time, and they asked if he would like to join, and he said, yeah, but I want to play guitar. And that I was in the National Guard at the time, not expecting to do anything crazy when I first joined the band. So I was like, I'll play bass, whatever, I don't care, you know.
Not knowing that you'd have to be here for the rest of your life.
And then that's the first band in my life that actually got signed and took off. And so I hence became a bass player for the rest of my life. So from then on, it was a journey, you know, like learning bass and learning not to be a guitar player on a bass. And it was quite the journey, and it was hard, you know.
What was the first bass that you got that's like, this is my bass?
It was a Schecter. Man, I can't remember the exact name of the model.
Did they give it to you?
A mid-level Schecter 5. I think it was a stiletto. Maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Would that, does that sound right?
Yeah, I think that's like one of their main models for that, the stiletto. Right. Yeah. Did they give it to you or?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, there's a picture somewhere. It's hilarious, and it's like all the original Chelsea Grin members with like their first Schecter guitar, and we're like grin, you know, biggest grins ever. We like can't believe that somebody just gave us something for free. You know, we're
right. Was it like a matte black or a gloss or what was it?
Yeah, it was matte black.
Matte black.
You know, it was blacked out, you know, metal looking. It was cool. So
I remember that. I when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I do remember thinking Schecter was the coolest thing ever because every single band out of nowhere, all of a sudden, all those Warped Tour bands, everybody had those Schecters. And you're like, oh, dude, Schecter, yeah.
Yeah, now you know they were just handing them out. They were like, yeah. Hey, it worked, man.
So you've at this point, you've toured all over the world, and I know that maybe like Soundwave has been your favorite tour with like Metallica and Slayer.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious, what was like the worst tour or show? Like, was it that first one you guys went out on, or?
Oh man, I would say the worst tour we ever did was, and it wasn't bad because of shows or, you know, like, I don't think I've ever had a bad time playing a show that didn't have a lot of people or anything like that. I'm happy to just play, and like if somebody wants me to play, I'm stoked. I'm like, all right, cool. But I think the bad tour, it happened in Europe. I would say it was the year before Jake quit the band. And it was Ocean's 8 Alaska was on it.
Oh, wow.
They were on it. Who else was on it?
Was it mainly like a gear malfunction? I mean, I know when you're over in Europe, you got rented gear. You got to try to figure it out. That first show is horrible because you're just trying to figure all your crap out. And then once I think you've said before yourself that first show is usually so bad that it makes the rest of the tour go off so much and seem much better. So was it like just that or?
I think it started that way, you know, and then it snowballed into just like madness, you know.
Oh man.
It was one of those things where, you know, we show up, everything's good, everything's going good. The show goes off good. There's like a couple people who are trying to get their luggage and get things figured out, and it's taking a little longer, and the driver is, you know, has a set bus call, and night one just tries to leave people, you know, at the venue when there's tour manager saying, hey, we still have people unaccounted for. You know, and we're like, okay, and you know, it gets a little heated between him and somebody else, and I remember like he went to like the tour manager went to walk off the bus, and the driver shut the door on him, you know, to just be a dick, you know. And
what city is this in?
I want to say it started in maybe Hamburg in Germany.
Oh man!
But the driver was this really intense Russian guy. He was this really big Russian guy, and his English was hard to understand, very, very broken English, which is fine, you know, not a big deal. But it was, you know, hard. It made him kind of intimidating, and
probably the communication levels between the two of you, or the rest of you guys, is just super hard too.
Yeah. So he chills out a little bit, and we go on about it. We're like, okay, cool. We get everybody in, go on. A couple days go by. We end up in Paris, and we're in Paris, France, and we're pulling in. And I remember I think it was me, our guitar player, Jake, and I want to say one of the guys from Oceans, and we were sitting in the upstairs of a double-decker bus looking out the back window, and you can see like the trailer being pulled by the bus, you know. And we're like, these streets are real tight, this looks really intense to drive. And he goes to turn a corner, and we clearly see him hit a car, you know, our driver, and we're like, oh no. And he goes to start driving away like nothing happened. And we're like, he's not going to stop. He's not going to do anything. And we see this guy. So we see this guy come running out of the shop, and we see people like pointing at his car, and he like looks up like, whoa, you know, and they point at the bus, and he takes off running after the bus. You know, he's like, and we're witnessing this guy try to chase the bus, and he's like fumbling, trying to pull his camera out. And right as he goes to pull his camera out, the driver turns the corner, and he's like, no, you know, like he didn't get the license plate, didn't get anything. And we're like, wow, that our bus driver totally just hit and run that car. That's crazy. And we show up to the venue, and he's like, okay, we have to drop the trailer. I have to take the bus to get repaired. You know, I'm going to get it taken care of. And we're like, oh, okay, sounds good. He makes us drop this trailer, all of our gear. We're in Paris, you know, luckily we have the show. So we play the show. Everything's good. The bus, you know, hasn't come back yet. We're like, okay, it's probably taken a while to fix the damage or whatever. Show ends. It's time to load the gear out. Bus
it's like midnight or so? Or?
Yeah, bus is not there. We basically are reaching out to the driver in every way we can. No answer. Phone's off. Nothing. Eventually, one of the tour managers takes a taxi to where the bus is supposed to be. Bus is not there. Comes back. Nobody can get a hold of anybody. Nobody can hear from the bus driver. We're on the side of the road in Paris with all of our gear, a trailer with nothing to pull it with. And the only thing open, because everything closes, you know, relatively early in Europe. The only thing that was open was like this crazy Euro dance club, like Eurovision, just like droney, just nothing, you know, for hours. And that was the only place to take shelter. And the bus didn't show up until 6 a.m. the next morning. And it was like hand bondoed, spray painted, like, terrible. You know, he didn't. He tried to fix it, and he comes to us and he tells us the bus was broken into. And he says, while I was there fixing it, he told us that Nigerians had crawled on top of the bus and broke through the windows and went through all of our stuff. There was stolen passports, there were stolen laptops, there was cash missing, you know, pretty much everything you can think of. And, you know, he's like, we're like, well, you know, was there videotape at the parking or anything? No tape. There's nothing. We're like, okay, this is getting weird. What's going on? You know? And, the guy, you know, I think we kind of like come together and we're like, yo, I think something's not right. Something's going on. And they kind of confront him, and he basically denies everything, you know, and it gets very uncomfortable. And from then on out, I think he drove us a few more days. He brought a girl onto the bus that he said was his family, which we later found out she was just a girl from the show who was paid him money to hitch a ride to the like next town or something.
Wow.
So we finished the tour. The dude denies everything. You know, he gets away with it. And we're like, that's unbelievable. The following tour, I believe it was Stick to Your Guns, maybe, or Set Your Goals, one of those bands. And the same driver drove them, and they ended up having like $15,000 or $20,000 go missing, and the dude ended up leaving the bus in the middle of a random country and like just disappeared.
What the fuck? Oh my God, I have so many questions. Jesus Christ. So how did you get back to the States without passports?
I believe that the passports that did get stolen, because it was a drop and go, which mainly is like you take all, you know, the bus can't park where the venue is. So everybody takes their gear. They take it into the venue with them, you know, and they tell you to take your, you know, valuables, whatever. And so when you're in Europe, you pretty much are told, just keep your passport on you at all times. Like I keep mine in my front pocket or, you know, wherever. It's always on me. Yeah. And they just happened to left a few in there, and he just went through everything. And, you know, I believe the people who got it stolen was they were UK residents and were able to, you know, figure it out because they were in Europe, you know. I don't know how it wasn't anybody in our band that got their passport stolen.
Okay, that's good. So, but I mean, it still sucks. But I've driven down some of those Europe roads, and they're made for cattle. Like I don't know how you got a bus down there.
Yeah, that's it was unbelievable. The places.
Well, I guess you hit a car.
Yeah. So how was like the tour? Was there a company that you? I'm just
like, how did you find this guy?
No, he was hired on by a company, you know, like he was a hired driver for a company that we had worked with many times, you know, and he just, I don't know if that was the first time we had ever worked with him. So I don't know if he got hired on, like saw how much money he could make, you know, right off the bat, or if he got into some trouble and, you know, needed it. I really don't know, but yeah, we did not get reimbursed for it because the entire tour, we never were able to prove it, you know?
Right. Oh so my gosh.
Just like, hey, sorry, you guys got, you know, you got robbed.
Do you know the comedian Bert Kreischer? It sounds like his machine story. He's got a bit about that where he joined the Russian mob, and they did the same thing on a train where they robbed all his fellow classmates. They did the same thing, the Russian mob. So that next night, were you guys late to the next show? Where was the next show after Paris?
I don't remember where the next show was, but I know we were late for sure. You know, it was probably show up, set everything up immediately. When it comes to dates and exact things, you're talking to the wrong guy. I'm never going to get it right. I don't know all the tour names.
It's hard. There's a lot of things to remember. I mean, you guys are constantly busy, so.
Yeah, and I just don't have the memory capacity for it. I've partaken of too many things that have just kind of clouded the old memory. So,
oh man! So you just got off tour with Dying Fetus. Just kind of curious how that was. I mean, obviously you got your new drummer with you guys, Nate from Glass Hands, and I heard, speaking of hands, I guess, that a fan asked Tom to spit in his hand.
Yeah, I don't.
What the hell?
You get some weird requests from some of these kids. I'm not sure what they're about, but yeah, I don't know how deep that story goes, but Tom just came in a little weirded out, and he was just like, yeah, this kid just he had a completely normal conversation with the kid, and then at the very end, he was like, I just have one thing, like, I really, really, like, if you could do this for me, it would really, like, make my day. And he's like, yeah, what's up, man? He's like, could you spit in my hand? And he's like, yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. No bodily fluids.
Oh my God. But other than that, was the recent tour good?
Oh man. That's the most, I would say, death metal tour we've done, like to do a Fetus tour. And we've wanted to step into that realm for a long time. And I don't think we've really had too many opportunities to do it. And we were a little intimidated at first because Fetus we didn't know how their fans would be. We didn't know, we just didn't know how it would go. And it was awesome. We were playing to new people. That's what you want to do for every tour, is get yourself in front of some new fans and new people who have never seen you, and widen your fan base and, grow. And we thought it was going to be, like a lot of people just standing and staring, or, waiting for Fetus, and
doing this.
Yeah. And we found, after a song or two, people were headbanging. By song 3, people were jumping. And by the end, they were going, and they were stoked, and they were saying, like, I'd never heard of you guys. I'm stoked to hear you guys for the first time. And that's exciting for us, being 10 years deep, to have people saying they're hearing us for the first time still. So.
Yeah, that keeps it fresh. Speaking of you were talking about new people, new things, that kind of stuff. I know you guys have a lot of new music, and, with Blind Kings and everything else. Just kind of curious how, since you've joined, obviously not knowing bass and kind of going in 2009 to now with the writing process and working on this new music, how has it kind of evolved and changed over that kind of arc?
Like the writing process? Is that
like creative process? Because obviously you got Steve with you guys now.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it's changed a lot. I mean, when the band was first formed, we would jam, we would meet up, we were pretty much just, somebody would show up with a breakdown or a riff, and it'd be off the top of the head from there. It'd be 90% terrible, 10% creative, like, cool. But it was fun, and it kept you motivated, and it kept, you played together all the time, and you kind of became this unit where you could feed off of each other and just kind of know where each other was going with an idea, and then I would say from there, the introduction of a new writing style kind of came with Jason Richardson entering the band about midway through our career. And he was much more, he would write everything out, in tablature or in MIDI, before he would ever play it. He would have an entire song put together before we would ever jam it, or, and that was new to us. So
didn't he go to like Juilliard or something?
No, he's self-taught. I mean, he's had guitar teachers and stuff, but he's just an extremely driven and smart person, and he's been grinding literally since he was a kid. There's a story he likes to tell about the first time he saw Metallica in concert. I think he said he was like 6 or something like that, and he was pissed because Lars wasn't nailing the kick drums properly or something. So, it went from, a more organic, writing process to a more refined, like, okay, let's really lay it out and sculpt it. And then the exit of Jason, really made a lot of us have to step up and to be able to play those things. And that pushed us all individually as well, including the time with him as well. He pushed everybody to get, take our instruments a lot more serious and take them to the next level. So, every step has been a growth process in one way, shape, or form. But currently, it's the writing process, I would say, is Steven writes pretty much 80% of everything. He's
crazy too.
Creative workhorse. He's insane with it. Me and him sit down. I would like to take more credit for it, but I can't. But we sit together and bounce ideas off of each other, and he's just the one that I can tell him anything, and he gets it. He knows what I mean, and he can instantly, provide it. And he's an amazing writer.
I feel like with Steve, even back, shout out to his original band, Consumed by Silence.
Yeah, Consumed by Silence.
Back in the day, he also has like a really cool success story for most people, where he was your guitar tech and then ended up being in the band, which is always a sweet story. But even back when he was in Consumed by Silence, he was already like, check out these riffs, and all these things were always already super, super good.
Oh man, yeah, he was advanced. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
So was this kind of always the style of music that you were into, or did you grow up kind of listening to something different and just people you knew played? Like, how did you kind of get into this genre, and what are your influences?
Was new to me with Chelsea Grin. Metal was not new to me. I mean, I grew up with my dad listening to like Alice in Chains and Judas Priest and, all sorts of stuff, classic rock, but that was like his metal side of things. And then I would say my progression kind of came between 8th and 9th grade, between my middle school and freshman school year. I had a friend in 8th grade who we loved Blink 182. I was all about, like Agnostic Front, Anti-Flag. I loved punk rock and like stuff like Small Brown Bike and not Mars Volta, but at the drive-in.
I didn't know that, man. That's so cool. We had a high school band, and our first show was opening for Anti-Flag up in Salt Lake.
Oh yeah. But, I loved all that stuff. Yeah.
I know Deftones and Tool are kind of like more modern influences for you, but
for sure.
if I heard this right, and we can edit this out or correct me if I'm wrong, but you met Maynard once, right?
I will say that I met Maynard. I believe I had an interesting humor with him.
I think so. You want to tell that story?
Yeah. Being a deathcore millionaire, I was out driving Uber and Lyft. And in my downtime, I was trying to make some extra money, and I was out driving around, and I picked up a passenger from the Salt Lake International Airport, and we proceeded to take a car ride. And I driving all day, I didn't pay much attention to who got in and out of my car too much. I just helped him in real quick. Let's head out. And we're talking. He's asking me a few things. What do you do? What are you interested in? And I'm like, I play music. I do this. I do a few different things here and there. And he's like, oh, you play music? What kind of music? And I'm like, oh, I play metal. He's like, laughs a little bit. And he's like, yeah, what kind of metal do you play? Like, what bands do you like? I'm like, I like Tool, Deftones, Slipknot. I usually give a pretty generalized answer in Uber or Lyft, because I don't expect too many people to know a lot of the subgenre bands that I would listen to. So I'll pick some bigger bands, but I do love all those bands with all my heart, but I mentioned Tool, and he kind of chuckled, and he goes, oh, you like Tool, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I love Tool, man. And I'm like, yeah, Maynard, he's the man. I love it, and he tells me, he's like, yeah, actually, I'm Maynard's neighbor. And I'm like, oh, what? I kind of look back, like, what? And I look back, and there's a semi shorter dude, straight bald head, thick black rim glasses. I'm like, holy shit, that's Maynard. Okay.
Maynard's in my car.
I'm like, man, I'm pretty sure Maynard's in my car right now. Or this dude is obsessed with his neighbor Maynard and is trying to look like him as much as possible, But he's asking me about, tour a little bit, and he's being cool, but not, never. obviously not going to tell me who he is, you know, and we're talking, and just little things kept slipping back where I'm like, okay. Like, he was giving me advice on my lower back pain for being in a vehicle for long periods of time. He was like, you know, oh, if you find yourself in sitting positions for long periods of time because you're stuck in a vehicle, this is a good trick to loosen your lower back. And I'm like, you've been on tour, fool. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's you, man. And he was very nice. He just, you know, thanked me for the ride, left me a nice tip, and, you know, never went any further than that. But
that's so cool.
But
that's so much better
than
than him being
him again, I'm going to call him out on it. I feel confident enough that it was him that I will go to him and be like, I know I gave you an Uber ride, and you told me that you were your own neighbor, you know,
which is awesome. I think that makes so much of a better story than if he's just like, yeah, I'm Maynard. Yeah. Oh, you like my band? You know, he's so much more of a cool dude.
No, it was great. You know, if that was him and that was the experience I had with him, I'm happy. You know, that was fun.
Those are always more wholesome experiences, I feel like, because neither of you are pressured by like who they are. It's just like you're exactly. talking to them as a person, and it's usually
I had
more
a great
memorable
conversation.
Yeah.
I had one other time where I had an opportunity to meet him, and it was at Soundwave. A Perfect Circle was playing there, and the green rooms at Soundwave in Australia, they're just like Connex boxes, like the shipping container crates.
Oh yeah.
And there's no like, well, you're in this huge band or you're in this little band. They're just kind of wherever, and everybody shares them. And they have their own personal ones, but they're all in the same area, you know. So like one day, a Perfect Circles was literally right across from ours. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to meet Maynard. I'm going to talk to him. And I like see him come walking out, and I'm like, there he is. And I like go to walk towards him. I have my head down and I'm walking, and I like go to look up, and I just bump into this thing, and I'm like, whoa. And I look up, and there's this big bodyguard just looking down at me. And I like look up at him, and he just, and I'm like, all right, man, yes, turn around, walk the other way. I was like, yeah, not today. So
maybe in an Uber.
Maybe in an Uber. Yeah. Next time, bud. Next time in an Uber.
So another story that I heard, I don't know if it's true or not. Did you guys at one point have Katy Perry's old bus?
Yeah, we did have Katy Perry's old bus.
Did it smell like Russell Brand and glitter?
No, it was. You wouldn't be too impressed with it. You know, I'm sure it was a lot nicer when she first got it, or maybe it was hers when she first started. You know, when she was on Warped Tour and stuff right before.
Okay.
But it was just a bus that was on the touring circuit. You know, a bunch of people. I'm sure tons of people at one time. If you were on that touring circuit using buses, you probably had it at one time. You know, so. But I wish I had a cooler story about it, but I don't. It was a lame bus that broke down, probably, you know. So.
Oh man. So as we were talking about, kind of our mutual friend Tim Burton, who also, if people are big fans of you guys, took those cool Warped Tour photos of you guys at Lagoon or the amusement park where you're throwing up, and all those are awesome. I remember when you guys did that. But he was telling me today, when you guys were on tour, you found a turtle shell.
Oh yeah, we did.
And you said it stunk really bad.
yeah, we were. So I kind of like on Warped Tour, Kevin Lyman, the guy who runs Warped Tour and owns it, he's a avid fisherman, and so he books his venues around all these spots where there's a place to fish. There's almost
you're an avid fisherman too as well, right?
Yeah. That's where this story's going. This is you know, so almost every day there was a place where you could fish. There was a pond or a lake or a river or something nearby you could fish. And every day I had a little dirt bike, and I had my dog out with me, and I would just have my dog on my little dirt bike and my fishing pole. And everybody was out, you know, kicking it, partying. I was being super redneck, just you know, ripping a dirt bike to a pond so I could go try to catch fish. And
like a little 50.
Yeah, it was. It was no, it was a 70, a little XR 70.
No way.
It was like but it was small. It was a little bit bigger than a 50, but
okay,
big enough that it didn't bottom out if I hit a little bump or something.
And what kind of dog?
His name's Solo. He is a Boston Terrier Pug mix.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What kind of color is he?
He's brindle.
And you're a brindle dog, one arm. Wait,
yeah.
How you hold? Does he chill on your lap? Are you both hands, one on the pole?
No, I had like a little basket attached to my, my dirt bike. So I had my gear and stuff in my little basket, and then he would sit on my seat, like on my lap, and I would have one arm on him and steer the bike with the other hand. And it was like the XR70 was a automatic clutch, so I didn't have to shift with my left hand.
Oh, right, yeah. It
was like an automatic 3-speed, so it was perfect. It was great. But yeah, I went to a pond one day, and there was this massive turtle shell, and I was like, this is so badass. I got to keep this thing. So I like bring it back. I'm like, take it back to the bus, and it's sitting outside in like 95-degree weather. It's just cooking basically after I pulled it out of the pond. It's been sitting in for probably a couple years.
And if people don't know, the turtle, the shell is like part of their body. It's not like they're like snails or anything. That is a part of their body. So that means like the turtle inside had to probably like decompose.
Yes. Yeah,
so it just
absolutely.
probably reeked.
Yeah. Oh, it was bad. I think midday, I got a call from somebody on the bus. My phone was going off, and I answered, and they basically were like, "You need to get your ass back here and get this thing as far away from the bus as humanly possible. You're not bringing it with us." And I went back, and there was flies all over it. Bees were like trying to get on it. I was like, it was bad. It was disgusting.
Yeah, Tim was saying that you were really trying to clean that fucking thing.
Yeah, I tried. It just, it was too far gone. Yeah.
So you didn't keep it. You just threw it away.
Yeah, I think I threw it back in the pond.
Bummer.
Put it back where it belonged.
Yeah, from where you come. Yeah. See you later.
So do you have any more like kind of, I guess, I know that you're not, I guess you're no stranger to ups and downs of touring, and obviously we don't want to highlight the crazy down parts, but like you have any like funny, more like odd stories of touring?
I mean, there's always a lot of good stories, like I think a lot of my favorite stories probably involve people being like probably way too inebriated to even remember it themselves, but they were good times. I think there was one time where I think it was the I Wrestled a Bear Once tour, I Set to Kill, and Vanna. And it was an early tour, and I believe it was the last night of tour, and our guitar player Jake was extremely hammered, and he was playing Edward, 40 hands with Four Locos. And he was just so excited and so happy to finish the tour. He was walking around the parking lot in like his boxers, trying to get into the show because he wanted to crowd surf, and he had these Four Locos on his hand. He couldn't get in the door, and everybody's trying to stop him. And I remember at one point he stopped, and he's like pretty much crying, but it's not because he's sad, and he's just like crying. And he's like, he looks at our other guitar player, Dan, and he goes, "Dan, if you're my friend, you'll piss on my feet right now." and Dan tried to stop him a few times, but there was no stopping him. So he just had to prove his friendship and, take a piss on his feet. And that solidified their friendship forever, I think. So
did he remember that the next day? Like he's walking around, like, why did my feet smell?
He did not remember that, no. But
did he wonder why he smelled?
We all did.
Did he pee on his shoes, or did he take off his socks and shoes to pee?
It was socks. It was socks.
Oh,
He had
fuck.
socks on.
That's worse. That's so much worse. It seals in the flavor.
Yeah, it was bad. It was
So
bad.
the rest of the night, did he walk in the socks?
No, I think we cleaned him up, you know.
Okay.
I think we cleaned him up.
Yeah.
Another good story was one time we were going through the Canadian border. It was our first time coming back from Canada. Michael Stafford was our lead guitar player at the time, and he was coming through, and we had all been drinking very heavily, and basically he was, you know, blacked out and was just asleep. He was just asleep, you know, and was drunk enough he wasn't going to wake up until tomorrow morning. And we got to the border, and we're in a van, you know, and it's disgusting. There's piss bottles in it. The Border Patrol hate it. You know, they're like mad at us that we're even going through there because it's so disgusting, you know. And they're like, all right, everybody out. And I try to explain to them, I'm like, you know, like, hey, we've been drinking tonight. One of our friends is, you know, he's not getting out of the van tonight, but I can help you check him. I can do whatever. Like, what do you want to do? He's literally in his boxers right now and unable to get dressed, you know. And they were like, he's got to come out, you know. And we're like, all right. So, you know, we pull it. It's like pulling a dead body out, you know. He's like just not responding. He's just done for. We have to dress him in, you know, I believe we put him in AK's clothes. AK is like 6'4", huge, you know, this big dude. He's just wearing these gigantic clothes that are, you know, falling off of him. And we just basically had to hold him up they basically just laughed the entire time. Yeah. Put us through it, laughed the entire time. And then as soon as he was up, they're like, all right, get back in the car and take off. You know, we're like, man.
Like, you made us do all that for that?
No, they
just to laugh.
They wanted to laugh out of it, yeah.
So since you've toured all over the world, I know favorites are hard, but do you have
I have a favorite?
Oh, you do? Okay. Where's your favorite place to hit?
My favorite place I've ever played is this place called Interlaken, Sweden. Or is it It might be Switzerland. And it's called Interlaken, and it means between two lakes. And it's up in it's Switzerland because it's in the Swiss Alps. And there's a festival there, and the stage that you play on just overlooks the Swiss Alps.
Oh,
and,
that sounds beautiful.
The mountain you're in between has these two glacial lakes in them, and they're like, you know, sky blue, like the prettiest blue you've ever seen, you know. And you go there, and there's all these like, you know, all these little blonde-haired Swiss kids swimming in their like little Speedos and stuff. And they're, you know, you jump in the water and it literally is like paralyzing cold because you're not used to, you know, it's mountain water and these little kids are just swimming in it. But everybody there had these like beautiful cottages. Every property you walked past had immaculate gardens with these, it looked like they knew how to live. It looked like they knew what they were doing. Everybody looked so peaceful. There was like fields of tulips, and it looked like paradise. You know, it was like
super picturesque. Did you get to fish?
I don't care if I even played to anybody there. I just want to live there. You know, I don't care if I ever play another show there.
Well, I'm just imagining like the hard music against the beautiful background.
The beautiful picturesque calendar.
It was a crazy, you know, a crazy backdrop. And there's like people parasailing down. There's like, I can't even describe it. You know, it's like, it's one of those places that you see on a postcard and you're like, it can't be that beautiful when you get there, and you're like, wow, okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get to fish any of the lakes?
No, I don't. I didn't fish any lakes there. Pablo, I do have to call out Pablo on this though, and I hope he listens to this because I still don't forgive him. We went to that lake, and he's the one who convinced us to go swimming in it. And so we go down there and we pay money to get into this like little swim area and go swim in this lake. And there's this raft, probably like 100 feet out, you know, like a decently far swim out there. And he's like, you know, I'll do it if you do it. And I'm like, all right, sounds good. You know, and we both go running, dive in. I'm swimming. it's freezing. I'm like, okay, this is pretty painful. This sucks. And I look back and Pablo's already out of the water. He's like, no, I'm not. I'm 3/4 of the way there. I get there, and I'm a skinny guy. I weigh like 135 pounds. I don't have much insulation on me, and yeah. I by the time I get to this thing, I'm like, like I can bear. I'm like nervous to swim back because I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna cramp up or something. I'm like, I'm gonna kill you, Pablo. You left me out here to die. He's just laughing at me the whole time. So
I wonder
I'm gonna
if
get you one day, Pablo.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was half his plan. Is like, I'm just gonna act like I'm gonna go, but then he'll
No, I think he had I think he wanted to. He's a lively guy.
Cold.
He's up for adventure. He just couldn't take the cold water.
Man.
I don't blame him.
So where has been, like, for you, like, audience wise, like the craziest dedicated fans?
The funnest places for me in the world have been Russia. Is amazing. I feel like when you go to Russia, even a band our stature, a deathcore band, that's the first time I felt like a rock star. When like kids are chasing you around and they're like trying to take stuff off of you, and they're like, like. It's a more intense feeling where, like, here in the States, kids have so much access to every band, and they have so much access to every band's personal life and what they're doing. And, they really feel like they own a piece of that artist, and if that artist isn't giving them that, American fans get pretty upset if they don't get access to, the inside lives of the people they look up to, such as musicians or actors or whatever. But in Russia, they don't have the same access. They don't even have the same internet platforms and stuff like that. So you go over there and you play all these songs that they've been pirating and listening to and trying to figure out, and they've learned English to, and, and it goes off, man. It's like the most energy in the world. That and South America, those two places.
Because they just appreciate it more.
Yeah, you go to South America, it's the same way. We went there with Asking Alexandria. And I remember there was one time we got off a bus and they had guardrails leading to the door, the entrance of the venue, because there was people on both sides, like when you, like a red carpet type thing. And, they have security and stuff. And we all go get in. They're like, you guys need to get in fast. Just leave the bus and go straight in. We all go in and they shut the doors. And we're all setting up. We're doing our thing. And apparently, Ben Bruce and Cameron, I can't remember Cam's last name, but Ben and Cam from Asking Alexandria had slept in and missed the the security escort from the bus to the building.
Oh,
and
no.
So they just decided to get off the bus, not knowing, unexpectedly, and walk to the venue. And we're all sitting there working, and all of a sudden we hear screaming, like kids screaming and stuff, and then pounding on the doors, like, let me in, let us in. We're like, what's going on? We go over and we open the doors, and Ben and Cam come falling in, and their Ray-Bans are all busted up. Their shirts are ripped. They have things missing off of them because
Holy
people were just
shit.
trying to grab stuff off of them, and
Beatlemania, dude.
Yeah, that was you go to those places and they, they're just not used to it. They don't get bands all the time. So it is a very big deal. You have kids who are waiting at your hotel because they can't afford tickets to go to your show. So they've looked up where you're going to stay or what airport you're going to land at so they can meet you before the show because they know they can't get in the show,
Man,
that's the type
awesome.
of dedication you find in those other countries where you would never see, we can go to we could announce what hotel we're in and, in the States, and kids would be like, cool, man, get a nicer hotel. They just talk crap on us.
So, just to kind of touch on, since you got to kind of see the beginnings of the band this whole way, which is awesome because obviously a lot of people have come and gone. what was it like starting out, being like just starting to see everyone start to like, oh man, people are getting like our names tattooed on them and they're doing our lyrics, and like
Yeah.
seeing it blow up and take off? What was that like?
I think, I think when it first happens, it's kind of, this overwhelming dump of, like serotonin, and, you just are flooded. You feel great. You find all this self-worth and stuff. You're like, yeah, this is great. Like, I'm getting all the recognition for all this time I've put in for this art form I've been trying to, navigate. And all of a sudden I'm getting recognition, and people want more of it, and they want to see the art that I'm going to create next. And so you get a lot of motivation at first, and it really is like, it pushes you to the next level. You're like, I can do it. It's affirming, and, but at the same time, it's, it carries a big responsibility too, because I think, at first you see these kids and you're like, yeah, cool, you got it. That's, you're a badass fan. But then you talk to these kids and you realize why they got your tattoo. And there's always a story behind it, and it's always a far deeper story that usually entails some sort of trauma or some sort of pain that they had to go through, and they've attached that pain or the recovery of that pain to a song or to your band. And I think that, when you realize the magnitude of that, it's like, that's when it really hits you and you're like, whoa. Like, it's not just, I remember like thinking bands were cool back in the day, but I also remember having songs and bands that like, to this day hit me to the core if I hear it. And I'm like, oh, that means something to me, and I think those are the kids who get your tattoos, and you're like, you start to realize that, and you really are like, I need to give this person my time, my energy. I have a responsibility to them, because I know I mean something to them. So it's a kind of a weird feeling, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I know you could describe it, but it's obviously hard to step into those kind of shoes with that. That's so cool though that you've been able to experience that in your life, and you've been able to, like, obviously you didn't intend for this. You were going to go into the National Guard, so then being able to wholly just like shift out of nowhere and be able to get into this, I think that's pretty cool that you've gotten to do all that for sure. And you've also been cool the whole time. Like, in the entire time first meeting you or anything else, you guys never had any egos. You guys were never like, oh, these little stupid little local bands, they're no, they're below us or anything. You never were like that. You guys were always cool. So thank you.
Yeah, well, we are that local band, like, and all of us have been in local bands, and we're not a band that was built by a record label, and we're not a band that was, we are a band that was made of friends who just wanted to play music together, and we're sitting at each other's houses and had to practice at somebody's house until the cops got called, and then saved them enough money to get a practice space, and then saved enough money to get a van and go on to, we know the grind, and we know that anybody can do it, and all you need is a little motivation. And sometimes you just need to see one of your friends make it, or, and I think our band likes being that band that is like, anywhere we go, people are happy to work with us and happy to have us. And because that's the only reason we want to do the job anyways, is because we suck doing all of our other jobs. And, we're kids, and we just want to have fun and have a good time. And you can't do that if you're a dick to everybody. Eventually everybody will just stop working with you. So it's paid off. You look after everybody, and you're nice to everybody, and you spread knowledge, and you spread each other's names and help each other grow. And I think the metal scene needs more of that. Like, it's the metal scene in general has gone through a lot of ups and downs, and a a lot of different forms where sometimes it's not the safest, to make friends in the metal scene because they'll rip you apart, or, there's mad, websites like Lamb Goat, or, that, spend their time, like you said, spotlighting the negative side of the scene, where it's like metal's only getting bigger right now, and why would you not embrace it and just, have fun while it grows and make it into something even better? That's my point of view, at least.
I think it's a good point of view. I mean, the whole reason we started this podcast was to kind of highlight, everyone, oh, you're in a band, it must be so cool. But it's like, actually 80% of being in a band sucks. It's dealing with these things, or having your bus driver hit a car in France, or whatever else. And then it's the other percentage that's the cool bit. It's cool, I think, for people to get the kind of glimpse behind the scenes and hear these cool stories and hear how things have, like, just document and share each other's stories. I think that's a huge part of why we did this. And thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation with us.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, shout out to everybody who's ever supported us in any way, came to a show, the National Guard who let me go, my parents who, encouraged me, all that, I feel extremely blessed. And, I feel like through my travels, I've learned how to be a better dad, a better husband, a better friend, all these things. And if there's one thing I can encourage anybody, whether you're a musician, whether you're a fan, whatever it may be, is travel. Go put yourself in uncomfortable places with people you feel uncomfortable with. And I promise you, you're going to find yourself, with a bunch of incredible stories, and 9 out of the 10 are going to be good, and you'll have one bad interaction every now and then.
But that even turns into the funny story.
Yeah,
and still learn something from it.
Those are the ones you really remember. Yeah.
I can't remember what old blues musician it was, but I was watching an interview once, and he said, if you want to be entertaining, go out and be entertained. Kind of like, as you were saying with the different metal bands and stuff, like, there's that weird thing. I'm sure it's not just metal, throughout rock and everything else. We're like, we can't share fans. We can't be friends. We're enemies, that kind of thing. It's like, no, it can be so cohesive. Everyone can share fans. Everyone can help each other grow.
That we need more of that in the scene. We do need more support from each other, and it doesn't need to be competitive. Bands are like, yeah, we'll tour. And then the managers get together and they're like, nah, we're bigger. No, we're bigger. No,
Oh, man.
It's not a lot of bands just sitting there, doing that. I think a lot of that's just, the nature of negotiating contracts and trying to make as much money for your band as you can, and, stuff like that. But, I would love to do, like a deathcore Big Four tour, like
that'd be awesome.
Silence, Whitechapel, Acacia Strain, Chelsea Grin, anything like that, like.
I think fans would love that for sure.
Yeah, we need more stuff like that where, the bigger bands can come together and show, like, yes, we are the scene, and we're supporting it, and we're going to encourage it to grow,
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome. Just to kind of wrap up, and I know we talked about, like, new music and stuff. Is there anything that you can kind of, like, let us know about? Any new music videos, tours, anything we can?
Well, I mean,
kind of discuss without revealing.
I can't give you exacts on it, but we've been getting a lot of gripe from our fans lately because they believe we haven't been doing much throughout the pandemic. But I can promise you, we have been in the lab the entire time. We have more new music to release than we ever have before. We're on the verge within the next couple months of shooting multiple videos for them. And we will have new music out this year. So I can't give you the details yet, but maybe when we do have those details, we can come back on and drop it,
Yeah, that would be awesome. It would be cool to talk through all the new songs and everything too. Yeah. And I love Tom and Steve and everybody else. So it's good. It's always a good time, always good chuckles.
Well, you're a great actor, so we may need to pull you in for some more music video stuff, because we talk about that a lot. We're like, Keaton killed it, man. He was like, you had the kill shot. You know,
Dude, my shout out. Just sorry, I'll digress in a second. But shout out to my brother. Actually, was in the music video as well, Brenner, and he plays the guy kind of with the, I think. So he's the guy that winds up the punch and punches Steve, that was all improvised. He was like, "All right, you're gonna punch him now." And he's like, "All right, here we go," and everyone just died laughing. So he's a better actor than I am. We'll have to get him back.
We'll get you both back.
There you go. Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure, David. We'll catch you next time.
Me.
Thanks again. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys too. Thanks again. Be safe.
Yeah, you as well.
You too.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to You Guys Shred.